Good afternoon, guys, and welcome back to the Suburban Proletarian. My name is Greg, and today I want to take a quick look at a new knife I just picked up. This is going to be a little bit different than normal. Usually when I introduce a new thing that I just bought, I would do a bit of an unboxing, but this knife, there was no box. There's no paperwork, no nothing, so we're just going to take a look at the knife itself. And the reason there was no box and no paperwork is the fact that this is, well, most of you have probably already recognized the fact that it is a Spyderco Paramilitary 2, but more specifically, this is a Spyderco Factory Second Paramilitary 2, which is why it didn't come with any box and paperwork. And we'll talk about that a little bit. Now, I'm not going to waste a lot of your time talking about the Paramilitary 2 as a model, because let's face it, guys, this is one of the most popular, universally accepted standards of EDC carry out there today. And this knife has been covered every way you can possibly imagine. It's been done and done and done. It's been done on paper. It's been done in print on the internet. It's been done in video format. Probably even audio. I mean, there's probably some Spyderco podcast out there that's talked at great length about this knife. It's a fantastic knife, but I really don't have anything to contribute to the conversation about the Paramilitary 2. Of course, we will take a little bit of a look at it and its features when we do the tabletop, but I can't really tell you anything that you probably don't already know about the Paramilitary 2 and the military and paramilitary series. More specifically, what I want to talk about is Spyderco Factory Seconds. What you can expect when you buy one, why you might want to buy one, and the limitations that are placed on the end user by buying a factory second. It's not quite the same. I've already gone over the fact that it doesn't come with a box, it doesn't come with any paperwork, it's just a knife. But there are some pluses to it as well, and I'll talk about those a little bit when we do the tabletop. But I have been reading each and every comment that comes in on the videos. I'm always telling you to give me advice or constructive criticism in the comments below. And one thing that is one theme that really seems to be carrying through all of your comments is too much of this and not enough of this. So without any further ado, let's go over to the tabletop and take a closer look at this knife. All right, guys, so here is my new Spyderco Paramilitary 2. And the first thing you'll notice about it is the fact that if you could describe any Paramilitary 2 as being boring, this is it. I mean, this is as standard as it gets. Standard G10 handle scales. Of course, these are the digital camouflage variety. Standard CPM S30V blade steel. Standard markings. Golden Colorado, USA Earth, with Sal Glesser's signature on the blade and Eric Glesser's signature here just in front of the handle scales. This is a very, very standard Paramilitary 2. But what sets this apart from other Paramilitary 2s that you might see at a local retail establishment is that this one is, as I've already mentioned, a factory second. Obviously, I wouldn't be privy to the exact figures, but I'm sure that Spyderco's quality control department disqualifies a lot of knives and knife parts from assembly into final products. But occasionally, a knife will go through production and will have a very minor defect that doesn't really affect performance whatsoever, and Spyderco will mark it and set it aside, and once a year they have a factory sale where you can actually go to the factory outlet store and sort through hundreds of these factory seconds, which are nearly perfect, but which have some small defect, and you can buy them at a significant discount. Now, I purchased mine from a fellow who went to the factory sale this year and purchased a bunch of knives and had some extras, which he then put up for sale on eBay. And the question is, why would you purchase a factory second? The MSRP on this knife is somewhat north of $200, which is ridiculous. Nobody's going to pay, I think it's $209 for this knife. Generally, you can find this knife somewhere at retail in the vicinity of $150 all the way down to about $120. Amazon sells this knife brand new, ostensibly a factory first, for $105. That's the price right at the moment. And in fact, I paid $105 for this factory second. So why on earth would you do that? Well, first of all, this channel is called The Suburban Proletarian. I like buying stuff, but I like getting the most for my money. I like saving money, or at least thinking I'm saving money when I buy something cheap. And it's true, I could have bought this from Amazon.com for $105. But there are a couple of problems with that. Well, the first one's not a problem. I had some great conversations, some great communications via text with the gentleman that was selling this. He lives in Golden, Colorado. He told me he gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning every factory sale and goes and stands online in the freezing cold and sorts through hundreds of knives to pick out a few good examples. And honestly, I'd rather give my money to a guy like that than give the equivalent amount of money to Lord Bezos, the richest man on the planet, who was probably tucked up in bed, nice and warm, and trying to figure out new ways to cram his social justice agenda down my throat, while this guy was out in the freezing cold waiting to get into the store to buy some knives. So I'd rather give my money to just an average Joe than give my money over to Amazon.com. I'm not a Luddite. I realize that Amazon.com, just like Walmart, just like Netflix, just like all these other things that we claim to hate, is a fact of modern life. And the truth is, I can buy a lot of stuff at Amazon that I can't get locally, and of course I do so, and the prices are very competitive. So I'm not trashing Amazon. I'm just saying, given the choice, they were by far the two cheapest options I had to get this knife. And they were the same price. And given the option between buying it from Amazon or buying it from a guy who seems like a solid, honest dude, I took the choice of buying it from a guy. The other thing is, Amazon, when you buy something from Amazon, you're not necessarily buying the product from Amazon. Amazon is not necessarily supplying the item. Now, I do not think that Amazon themselves are selling counterfeit knives, but if you read the reviews of this knife and other Spyderco knives on Amazon, it is clear that somebody in their supply chain is shipping counterfeits. So you don't really know what you're getting. This knife was on eBay. The guy had excellent high-resolution photos. I could carefully examine the knife before purchasing it. And after talking with the guy, he seemed like he was on the up and up. And I still have no reason to believe that he's not on the up and up. This is definitely a genuine knife. And while people in China are definitely counterfeiting Spyderco knives and making some pretty convincing counterfeits, I'm not sure that anybody's making counterfeit factory seconds. So anyway, that's why I bought this. Now, why would you maybe not want to buy a Spyderco factory second? Well, first of all, I've already said it came with no box, it came with no paperwork, and even though this is a genuine Spyderco, and you could probably send it back to Spyderco and get it serviced, you are going to pay to do so because it is not covered by Spyderco's normally awesome factory warranty. But the fact is, I've owned a number of Spydercos, going all the way back to 1992. The very first Spyderco I ever purchased was a first-generation Endura in 1992. I've owned dozens of Spydercos in the intervening years, and I've never had to send a single one back for factory service. So I'm really not too terribly concerned that this knife might suddenly fail on me. And if it does, what am I out? I'm out $105. You know, I think that's an acceptable risk. So I got a good deal on the knife. Now, how can you tell a factory second? And that's very simple. Every single one of these knives is marked with a small notch on the starboard side of the blade, usually just in front of the jimping. And when I examined the photos of this knife on eBay, I thought it was marked a little bit differently. I saw this, there's a notch just here above Sal Glesser's signature on the back of the spine. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Maybe Spyderco has changed their method of marking factory seconds. But in fact, no. You can see that there's the standard notch right here in front of the jimping to denote the fact that this is a factory second. And in fact, this notch is why it's a factory second. This tiny little, almost insignificant notch, which it clearly appears that while this knife was still just a blade blank, it probably got dropped and banged. They did the final machining thinking that perhaps that would disappear, and it didn't, and so the knife gets sold as a factory second. I can't find anything else wrong with the knife. There are no imperfections in the G10 that I can see. There's no blade play, side to side or fore and aft. The compression lock works perfectly. The bearings seem to be just fine. I don't know. I can't find anything else wrong with the knife. I mean, a lot of people are crazy, absolutely obsessed with blade centering. And the blade centering's not absolutely perfect on this one. It's maybe off to the port side, maybe 1 or 2 degrees, but it's very close to being perfectly centered. Not enough to bother me, for sure. I can't find anything else wrong with this knife. So, for the price I paid, I'm very, very happy with this knife. I expect that it is going to find a very prominent place in my EDC rotation. When you read reviews of knives, when you read surveys that are done, where they survey numerous knife people about which are the best or most important knives that are out there today, this knife, the Paramilitary 2, is right up there with the Benchmade Griptilian as probably the 2 most highly respected everyday carry knives out there. So I think this is going to have a very prominent place in my EDC rotation. I will certainly report back here if I have any additional problems with the knife. Well, any problems to begin with. I haven't had any problems yet. It's still brand new, other than a couple of light scuffs on the pocket clip. This is an interesting thing, which maybe I shouldn't get into, but a lot of my knives end up with these weird scuffs on the concave part of the pocket clip. There must be something in my environment, at home or at work, which is just at pocket level, which is convex but has a smaller external diameter than the internal diameter of this clip, which rubs here, and these aren't even scratches, they're just these insignificant sort of scuffs that appear. Every single Spyderco knife I have, and a lot of others that have similar, see, this is smaller in diameter, and I don't see, there are some chips and scratches obviously on this knife. It's been around for 4 years, but no scuffs like that. But I get a lot of those on these highly polished clips. Anyway, it's not a problem. If I run into any problems, I will certainly report back. And I would definitely expect that you'll be seeing, if you watch my other videos, more of this knife in upcoming Spyderco videos and other videos that have to do with EDC knives. Probably be doing some bushcrafty stuff with this. So anyway, I just wanted to take a quick look at that. Let's get back over to the bookshelves and wrap this up. Alright guys, so that was the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 in its factory second form. Again, I don't have an awful lot to say about the Paramilitary 2. I mean, I could talk about it for an hour, but nobody wants to listen to me do that because it's the information's out there. But I just wanted to make the point that Spyderco factory seconds, if you can get your hands on one, I think the only way to purchase one is by actually going to the factory in Golden, Colorado when they have their annual sale and buying one personally. But if you, or as I did, buy like on eBay from a guy who did go to the factory sale. But if you can get your hands on one, they represent a remarkable value. This knife is going to be a primary carry piece in my EDC rotation. Although I didn't talk a lot about the PM2 here in this video, and I didn't review its performance at all. I have been using it for about a week and I've been pretty impressed. I would expect to see this in some upcoming videos. I think this is going to be right up there with my Benchmade Griptilian in D2. It's vying right now for first place, and I've only had it for a week, and I've had the Griptilian for about 4 or 5 years, I guess. So this is going to be an important knife in my EDC rotation, and I would definitely expect to see it in upcoming videos. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and click the like button down below. Consider becoming a subscriber. It doesn't cost anything. It takes a second or a fraction of a second, and it really goes a long way to help keep me here on YouTube or whatever other platform you happen to be watching this video on. And if you're already a subscriber and you want to make sure that you keep up to date with all of the latest content on the channel, go ahead and click the little bell icon down below. That will allow YouTube to send you notifications when I post new content to the channel. And when I do that, I hope to see each of you here then. Later, guys.